All right, let's go ahead and kick this off. So this is a weekly call, number one that I'm actually recording because I forget to click record. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We'll just be covering some of the basics of Hermes and how you can utilize it in your business. So first up is Beyond the Chatbot, an introduction to the Hermes agent and building your 24/7 AI chief of staff or CEO, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. You're driving yeah, so this is like the legacy like chat, that like, people using ChatGPT and what have you. So, you're driving a Lamborghini at 10 miles an hour, legacy AI reactive chatting. Most businesses use powerful AI as a reactive text generator, asking isolated questions and getting isolated answers. To unlock the true operational ROI, we must shift from reactive prompting to autonomous proactive agency. So that's kind of like where Hermes comes in, obviously. The paradigm shift, chatbot versus agent. Chatbot tells you how to ask or how to do a task. Hermes does the task for you, literally. Chatbot has amnesia, forgets when you close the tab. Now, this is a little bit different because, like, obviously with OpenAI and ChatGPT, they've updated to where they have memory now. So it's a little bit better than that, but it still like doesn't have 24/7 persistence and like everything you're doing, right? Like if you connect it to your like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to your CRM, it's not continuously getting that data. Like, right, your computer has to be on, etc. So Hermes persistent remembers your business contacts forever. The chatbot trapped inside a browser window. Hermes connected securely to your entire digital stack, and the chatbot waits for you to prompt, and the Hermes agent runs in the background and does jobs while you sleep. So that's kind of like the paradigm shift, right? So with that said, meet Hermes, the universal operating system for AI. Oh my god. Welcome to the call, Shelby Wilson. I wonder who that could be. Hermes is not a language model. Or let me just bring this down. Let me unshare this and see if I can bring it down to my monitor so I can read it better. What's going on, John? All right, let me reshare. We're just going over kind of like the basics of Hermes in a nutshell. This recording is going to be up in also in the school. So if you miss like later down the line, I'll start recording these. So with that said, meet Hermes, universal operating system for AI. Hermes is not a language model itself. It is a persistent, customizable operating system that lives on your machine. I know this because I've literally built an entire like CRM operating system using Hermes. So it's like connected to literally every area of my business. It manages clients. It does like it listens in Slack. So and it detects like when somebody sends a Slack message, and it automatically generates a message I can send, and I can literally click a button and send that message. So I don't have to actually proactively prompt like more normal people do using ChatGPT. It's literally my operating system layer and takes all that friction of having to go in and prompt. It already does everything for me because I set it up to do so. So with that said, executes takes autonomous action on your behalf if you want it to do so. So I don't have to click a button. I could just have it send out messages for me, of course. However, I like the human loop and the human layer. So I want to have that permission to be able to send to clients and things like that. Um, orchestrates routes tasks to the smartest AI models based on your needs. This is really where the news portal like subscription comes in handy. Let me see if I can grab the news portal subscription. It's really hard to find at times, or I could see share this tab instead. So the portal here is where like you could go to the Hermes website and click on portal, and you can actually get a subscription to that, and gives you access to 300 models, right? So you can also tell Hermes to like build a system where it routes to the your top models for XYZ workflow. So if it's content creation or video editing, you could have certain AI models that are excel in that area, like Gemini or something like that, versus using like Codex for coding, for example, or Grok for searching X. So you could build out systems for that. Works really smooth, really nicely. So you want to use like the best models for their certain use cases, and it connects bridges the gap between your existing software and tools. I already spoke on that a lot, in terms of, how I have Hermes connected to multiple different systems, like the marketing layer, which is like the funnel, the websites, the landing pages. It literally analyzes the data. And I also have it connected to like the CRM on the back end. It gets all the statuses and all the updates from what the team's doing. And then I have Hermes doing a lot of other things. I have like 5 mission control dashboards, and even the Hermes, client management area as well. So that's kind of how I was set up. Um, let me make sure. Feel free to drop messages in the school chat if you guys, or this like little chat bubble. I'll be checking that periodically if there's any questions, or any comments, any fun things you want to point out. The model agnostic advantage: never rely on a single brain. Hermes automatically routes your tasks to the most efficient model, maximizing performance while minimizing API cost. Really, the agnostic model, in my opinion, is having the ability to build out your full stack with Hermes, and not being locked into an ecosystem, right? Because if I'm building on a Claude code and I have all my workflows in there, and let's say Claude code, the token cost skyrocket, they start throttling users again, or whatever the case may be, like the outlying situations that like we don't necessarily want to be in. Or what happens if Codex just drops a better model, right? It's like we just got to pick up our entire Claude cowork slash Claude workflow and somehow transport it to Codex. Like that just doesn't work that easily. And what if like Google one day surpasses both of those? Then you have like you're just bottlenecked in a certain, like you're pigeonholed in a certain ecosystem. Whereas if you were just building in Hermes the entire time, your workflows are yours, you own them, and you can switch the models super seamlessly and you're never locked in. That's like the hugest advantage that I think a lot of people, even the smart people out there that I see doing like videos on Claude and Codex, like they're just missing that whole thing completely. Like they're building their workflows on these like very, pigeonholed ecosystems. Whereas one day, like those could be surpassed. We don't know. It's so early in this AI race, and it's really anybody's game. So I would hate for that to happen for people to be stuck in that situation. But fast forward a year or two from now, I bet that would be the case in some cases. But with that said, that is that. The strategist Claude Opus: high cost, deep reasoning, complex planning, and overarching strategy. The generalist ChatGPT 5.5, including subscription, best for reviews, coding, and data operation. So I already covered those examples in the previous slide, but that's what that looks like. The memory vault: never start from zero. So this one's like, the core of it being your soul.md, like who Hermes is. And then you have like the actual memory layer, the memory.md, persistent chat history, SQL indexing. It seamlessly recalls what you discussed 3 weeks ago. So you can add in more like layers of memory. And the second brain direct links to external knowledge bases like Obsidian or Notebook and Lim for expansive context, which is basically what I'm using right now for for these slides. So if you haven't used Notebook LM, super good. And you can even like create these cool presentations like I'm doing. But with that said, connecting your digital world. Hermes translates technical model context protocols into seamless business integration. The cool thing about Hermes now, this latest update, is that they've actually updated to where you can build profiles inside of Hermes. So now I can build a dedicated like legion called Apollo, or comms, a comms profile, a meetings profile. These are like dedicated agents that can go in and do dedicated jobs, have their own sole MD files, their own like personality, and I could basically create an entire system with these different profiles, kind of like emulating employees in a way. So that's kind of like the cool thing there. And what I'm getting to on the model context protocol is now I can connect it to like one agent over here to Notion. That's like the Notion manager or the ops manager, right? And then I'll have another profile where it just only like reads my calendar and is kind of like my assistant profile. they both don't share the same connections. They have their own dedicated jobs. That way, it can silo dedicated workflows to those different profiles and agents. Super crazy. It's one of the more latest updates with Hermes. Super useful, and they have a super easy agent builder. Maybe I can pull that up in a minute, but I want to kind of keep on track here. Let me see if I can pull up the dashboard. It's actually, I wonder if it's easier in the Hermes desktop. So maybe I'll pull that up later, but let's keep it moving. Playbook number one, the 24/7 research analyst. So yeah, this is another one you could have like a 24/7 research analyst profile as well. On the action feed, 50 industry podcasts. Oh, with this, I guess let me read this slide. I'm getting like, excited. But the Action Feed 50 industry podcast, PDFs, and competitor videos in the Notebook LM, and have Hermit. There's like a GitHub where you can connect to Notebook LM. And the result, query Hermes from your phone via Telegram. Example, extract the top three competitor hooks from my strategy database. So you can do cool stuff like that. The exciting part about the latest Hermes update as well is forward slash learn, I believe is it's either forward slash learnings or forward slash learn, but you can feed it information and it distills all that information and learns from it. And you can build like these learning loops, and you can also build skills off those learning loops. So that's going to be another like, maybe I'll cover that in the next like call, building like learning loops and building skills. But just want to knock out some of these like basics here. Playbook number two, the automated prospector. Number one, the trigger. You ask Hermes for new targets. Find roofing companies in Austin. The query, Apollo API or whatever API you want to use. Hermes autonomously searches the Apollo B2B database for high margin, untargeted local leads. The execution or Zapier MCP. It doesn't even have to be Zapier. You can really kind of just um, connect it directly to Google if you really wanted to. Hermes drafts 20 highly customizable context aware outreach emails and places them securely in your Gmail drafts. Now, again, you don't have to have some of these like APIs or tools, like some of this stuff. Um, like Zapier is probably not even needed in that situation. You can just connect to Gmail if you really wanted to. Playbook three, the asynchronous workflow, the triad. Step one, the conductor, Claude Opus, sets the strategy, breaks down the problem, and writes the brief. The workhorse, DeepSeek 4, execute hours of heavy, intense research overnight, perfection of penny, the critic. Brutally reviews the work against the initial brief, forces iterations until the quality is shippable. That is an example. Yeah, the cron job, like synthesis. Basically, what I use like the my cron jobs for is a morning brief around my clients. I have cron jobs that are like I still have OpenClaw, so I still use OpenClaw to help manage. It was like one of the initial build I built my mission control dashboard was using OpenClaw, and it's really reliable because like nothing changes too much with OpenClaw. And once you have it working, like that's the key, getting OpenClaw up and working. But it like basically what I have it doing is self healing crons, self healing like automated jobs that basically heal themselves. So if my mission control goes down, OpenClaw goes in and make sure like it's always working, and it can detect anything that goes down in my mission control. So that's one of the like ways. That was one of the tricks I used when everybody was having problems with OpenClaw. I had a self-healing cron job that ran like twice a day, and my systems never went down. And I just have never had any issues with OpenClaw since then. Like I've had my OpenClaw running since. I mean, it's been, I don't even know how long I've had OpenClaw running consistent, but it's been since like the beginning of the year, with no issues. But that said, if it ever did go down, I would just have Hermes on it and have that fixed using Hermes. So it's kind of nice having both, different agents inside of your computer, on your dedicated computer. It because like you can have one fix the other, or one like whatever goes down, you have one fix the other one. The ultimate state, the agent operating system. This is like the mission control type of stuff we were talking about. Visually track artifacts, invoices, reports generated autonomously by your AI, track AI spin. This one's kind of you can do this with some models. Some models don't like you to have access. I think Codex is a little bit more difficult. unless you're running just the API. But most people I know using Codex are using the subscription. Mission control, manage midterm business goals, track sub-agent progress, and review overnight insights. I've seen people build like pretty complex like sub-agent management types of dashboards where they're like super visual, and they look pretty cool, video game like as well. So this one is a safety imperative vault mode. You want everything obviously like on local. The principle of least access: never give Hermes the keys to the kingdom. Configure permissions to allow drafting of emails, but strictly require human approval for sending. I don't even have my Hermes connected to emails because I just don't want to get prompt injected. And even though I have prompt injection safety built into Hermes, that's I just don't have it connected to Gmail. But, for folks that do, you could still require a human in the loop for approvals before sending, or, I mean, Google has Gemini built in, so honestly, that's really useful, and you don't really need Hermes in that way. You can literally just draft it with Gemini, and I think most accounts on Gmail have Gemini for free anyways. And Hermes is 100% private operations. For sensitive client data, financials, or proprietary code, run Hermes entirely locally on your machine using open source models. Zero data leaves your premises. I covered this in my previous videos. A couple of videos is that obviously what I do is run Hermes on a dedicated computer. Obviously, like if you have a strong enough computer to run local models, you can do so. You're going to end up spending, $4,000 to $10,000 on one of those types of computers, like the DJX Spark or the Mac Studio, which is like 10 grand. And even then, with some models, may require a cluster of computers. Yeah, like multiple Mac Studios or multiple DJX Sparks, which I've seen. I've seen people cluster those together. There's actually a pretty cool company called EXO that allows you to cluster your computers together and like gives you a beautiful dashboard to view your cluster, and then you can program different models on each computer. It's highly programmable, super cool, and the UI looks like the Matrix kind of, but in a like not so user difficult way. It's got clean AI or UI. How to start tomorrow. So define the soul. So getting started with Hermes tomorrow. It'll ask you like, it'll just out of the box be like, um, I mean, the Soul MD out of the box is pretty lame. So you want to give it some juice. One resource I found, and maybe I'll create a template for the Soul MD. I actually got it from the community. A community member actually provided their template, and I just tweaked it to my business and my like goals and my operations. And so yeah, I'll probably have that Soul MD file. It's pretty robust. You want Hermes like continuously like not the thing with OpenClaw, right, is it, like, doesn't really self-learn. Like, you want to take advantage of Hermes' self-learning abilities, and the best way to do that one of the best ways to do that is define the soul MD. It says, "Clearly articulate your business context, preferred tone, core metrics, and long-term goals, then connect the core stack." So, the next obvious thing, once you have your soul MD, um, and obviously in the previous videos I talked about or last week's call, I talked about security. So we obviously want to do security number one, and then this is kind of the after you set up your security stuff. But yeah, step two, connect to your core stack using basic MCPs and APIs to integrate your most vital daily tools, calendar, meetings, transcripts, email docs. So that would be like Notion as well. Mondays, the what's the or Jira and Atlassian. Yeah. Anyways, got tongue twisted there. But with that said, deploy one workflow, start small, schedule a single daily automation like a 8 a.m. Morning brief to build trust and operational muscle memory. And then after that, once you start getting, literally how I started with OpenClaw back in the day, is I just had one basic little cron job, and that basic little cron job turned into a mission control, like me connecting this insanely advanced CRM management tool that was so honestly, I'm having to catch up to my own mission control dashboard that I built because it's so complex and it's super intelligent. And I'm having to actually go in and like force myself to work in it to find the bugs that are like that I need to fix. Because eventually I want to templatize the whole mission control, and just to kind of give it away to school members and things like that, possibly in the future. And that's one of the things I'm having to do is like build my mission control in a way that's shippable, and that also comes with a wizard, so you're able to connect all these like APIs and all of the different models that you want to use with your Hermes in the mission control as well. So that's kind of like my one of my goals. Stop running isolated intelligence, start building your interconnected AI infrastructure today. That's kind of the end of that presentation on that. And then I got a mind map I can share as well. Let me pop that open. So this was basically, the I have it like broken down into different, like, from the correct setup all the way to the memory model context, how you can kind of like visualize Hermes from a top down, broken into different topics. So like the correct setup, local hosting, Mac or a laptop. Some people use old laptops. You can really just go to Facebook Marketplace, and I covered this in a video. Let me see here. Let me just pull up Facebook, and I'll just go to the marketplace and I'll show you exactly what I did, which hopefully everybody knows how to kind of use. Yeah, just mini computer. That's literally all you need to do is go to Facebook Marketplace, mini computer. People are like reselling their Mac Minis, or you can find these like actual mini computers. Let me see if this one, yeah, GMK Tech is a really good one. It's kind of like the uh, you know, Windows computer that is like the Mac of mini computers, but this one's really expensive though. I wonder why it's so expensive. Not to get off two track, but I bet it has really good specs. But anyways, like you can find GMK techs for as little as like 250. Like yesterday, I found one. Like here's a mini computer for like 175. So you don't really like you could run multiple Hermes agents and OpenClaw, and like you can run like 10, 15 agents on one of these like mini computers, and it's got like 16 gigabytes of RAM potentially there. Um, you could use an old laptop, so you don't need much to run these agents. Like people think you need a Mac. You don't need a Mac. You need, like, unless you're running local models and like the big local models, then it's worth it. But even then, you're spending 5 to 10 grand, and even then, like it might not run like the large main model. Like you might be just running the smaller like 2 billion parameter model versus like the 20 billion parameter model or something like that. Um, so that with that said, you have your gateways, the messaging platforms. You can also install Hermes via terminal. They also have the desktop app as well, which I have right here. I don't know if it's going to share on my screen. Maybe I can pull that up. I have it right there. Let me see if I can share my Hermes desktop. Well, actually, I just do it later. GitHub private repository backup. That's one you have to set up. So if you don't have a backup for Hermes, the easiest way to back up Hermes is just a private GitHub repo. You just have to sign up for a GitHub account, and then you'd obviously connect Hermes to your GitHub, and then you just tell Hermes to say, "Hey, I need you to back up everything, minus like my private API keys, minus the .env, and stuff like that," and then just back it up to or back it up to GitHub. Docker container isolation. You can do that for Hermes and the sub profiles, for your security reasons. A SolMD, Obsidian Vault, um, integration memory MD, dreaming sequence. This one's like Honcho. So I know Claude has like dreaming, which is funny because like most people don't use Claude 24/7, but it does have dreaming. But with that said, you can actually connect Honcho to Hermes agent, which is like $4 a month. Like if you want to run a cloud instance, and basically it has like dreaming built in as well, which is a nice like addition to your like memory layer. SQLite, full text search. Really like getting into like Obsidian. Obsidian is really good too. Like you can basically pay $4 a month for Obsidian, or whatever it is, and you have a second brain essentially, and you can connect your like iPhone to it. You can connect your devices so you have access to your own like Obsidian vault. If you want to add in like notes, do some stuff on the fly, capture like voice notes and add it to Obsidian, and have Hermes process and transcribe your like voice notes or calls. There's many like cool things you can do with Obsidian. Um, Model management, multi-brain, hot swapping, frontier models, OAuth subscriptions, local models, Open Router API integration. Open Router is a cloud model tool. It's like it's like got like hundreds and hundreds of models you can use on there with, and you only need one API. So does News Portal, which I mentioned earlier in the call, is like it's similar to Open Router, except there's like dedicated Hermes skills, I believe, and things like that in the News Portal. I got to try it out. I haven't tried out the News Portal subscription, but I may give that a swing, maybe next month. So we'll see. Right now, I have like a max plan on like Codex, and I've just been too lazy to switch over, to be honest. Um, your skills and functionality, you got your MCPs, which are pretty much just the way Hermes connects to like Notion. It's like a fancy way of like tools like Notion or Gmail or Google tools, Model Contacts Protocol, MCP for short. Self-generating skills. You have Zapier app connections, Apollo, yada yada yada. Firecrawl. Firecrawl is a really good one. It's just like you can scrape websites and scrape things. There's a couple of competitors like Tavali and things like that. So depending on what your needs are, like Firecrawl isn't necessarily like you don't have to go with stuff tools. Some of these tools you can do like market research and find cheaper tools. Technically, so that's that. Automations and goals. You have cron jobs, heartbeats, background. Heartbeat's a big one, especially really around OpenClaw, because that heartbeat will fire off like in a heartbeat. Basically, um, you have like a heartbeat.md, and that thing will run similar to a cron job. OpenClaw was really good at that one, on the heartbeats, but yeah, that's what that looks like. Principle of least access, security layers, environment variables. This one's really important. Your .env file is where you want to store like your credentials, APIs, tokens, and things like that. That way, like it's not exposed anywhere. Allowed user ID. So yeah, this one's for Telegram. So Telegram, like obviously you don't want to expose your user ID. And you also just want to give Hermes access to that user ID and nobody else. You're gonna have that like gated down, locked down, to only your Telegram, and all that good stuff. Local data ownership. We already went into that. Another thing that's not in here is like Linux. So one of the security layers would be like if you set it up through like a one of those like Windows like mini computers. What I did is I wiped Windows off of the mini computer and then I installed Linux, and I basically like enabled a firewall, did a bunch of settings inside of Linux, and then before I even downloaded like OpenClaw or Hermes to it. So there's like additional layers of security. Like obviously Mac, you can do the same thing. The UI is much easier, and you might not have to mess with like the terminal as much as you do with Linux. However, I will say with Linux, the operating system I chose was Ubuntu, and I signed up for Ubuntu Pro, which is free. All you need to do is just sign up with your email, and you get a free Ubuntu Pro account. And they give you like the latest security updates and some more security features. So I went ahead and just opted into that, and now I have Ubuntu Pro, and the operating system is really clean. Like Ubuntu's been out for, I don't even know how long at this point, decades. It's like decades probably, that Ubuntu's been out. But yeah, with that said, yeah, practical use cases, research triad, automated morning briefing, software and micro app building, lead prospecting and scraping, document and invoice generation, helping with your content creation, generating thumbnails. What I use Hermes for is, let me see if I can go into my FAL account, uh, without. Okay, let me see if I can share this tab. All right, so I was messing around with FAL AI, and this is like the back end of FAL, but I connected Hermes to this tool. This is basically like, if you know what Open Router is, where it has, like, hundreds of models just using one API key, well, this is like the Open Router, but for content generation. So it has like all the content models in here. You can literally sign up for an account and you can literally see all these different like models, like Nana Banana. They even have their own models in here as well. You can see Kling. They got 11 Labs, like buy certain uh, labs here, like HeyGen for like avatars. Um, Actually, let's click on HeyGen and see what they have. Digital twin. Yeah, so they got the avatar agents in here. You can see like how much text to video, um, basically it costs. So you can kind of get a rough estimate, like on depending on what model you want to use. But I have this connected to Hermes. So long story short, all you need is one API, and it connects you to all these models. Like you can literally go through and explore all the different like yeah, view all models, like, they have a ton, like, these are all the models they have. So, you could actually build custom workflows, like, around certain models, like, I built a, ad generator, and I have certain models hooked up to my ad generator, that uses, FOWL, and what it does is I use GPT Image 2, I have Nano Banana Pro, and, I think I have Flux as well and I think a couple others. But with that said, I have some requirements that like I built like my custom ad generator where I just plop in like my client's info and it basically spits out an image um, based on a prompt I already built ahead of time that generates an advertisement for me. So that's kind of the workflow that I use. Again, this could be used for content creation too. Like you could make your own ads, you can make your own banners, you can make your own social media posts using Foul AI. So that's one of the things, like one of the practical use cases you can use it for. Like you set up Foul one time, tell Hermes to say like, "Hey, set up Foul AI for me," and it'll tell you exactly how to do it. So, with that said, one of my favorite ways to use Hermes are those like kind of, what people used to teach with innate in, but you can just build everything with Hermes, like automations and workflows and skills, like super useful, and highly portable, especially with the desktop app, which is another like layer of like basically making Hermes like super easy to set up, and then kind of branching off from there. So if you don't want to set up Hermes like on a mini computer at first, you just want to start it on your local computer. You can kind of do so. I don't really recommend that doing it that way, just because a mini computer is like $100, $200 on like Facebook Marketplace, and you don't need a Mac Studio out of the gates or anything like that. So, um, yeah, let me see if I can pull up my Hermes desktop here. Let me try to share it real quick. Window, we'll just share that. There we go. All right, so Hermes desktop. Basically, I have it set up to my. You can see like Telegram. You can see how many like cron jobs right here. You can see Discord, the different threads or like all this. I'm not exactly what I don't want to click on it reveal, but it's actually super easy too to set up a new profile on the bottom left. Like if I want to set up a new agent, I can literally name it whatever. So I could be like, this is my school assistant agent, or whatever the case may be. I can clone it from another agent if I want it to be similar. And here's where like the Soul MD, like I can just basically come in here and drop in a soul into it and then create the profile. So it's like actually Hermes desktop is probably a little bit easier to create a new profile than the actual like native Hermes dashboard. So it's that easy. And with that said, I have this connected to my mini computer. So basically this dashboard right now is powered by my remote Hermes living on my mini computer that's not even on this computer. So we can say, hey Hermes, let's give me the latest Actually, let me try to think here. What's the latest thing I worked on today? Oh yeah, I got a good one. Give me the Hey Hermes, about um tell me if we need update OpenClaw, Hermes, and Ubuntu. So it knows like it's on my computer, so it's gonna check my system, skill view. It shows exactly what it's working on right there. And I updated Hermes and OpenClaw today, and it'll probably tell me I need to update Ubuntu or something like that, but we'll see. So it's running back there. So the point being, it's like on that computer and it's not on this computer. So, and it shows it's running for how long at the bottom. It shows the amount of tokens spent at the bottom as well, and you can change. It's running on high, so that's kind of the cool thing with this one is it's also easier to switch the reasoning than using like the terminal or like using even the native dashboard, which is kind of nice. Um, and then it'll show you like obviously if you're behind on updates. However, I still update my Hermes through my terminal, so we'll get to that. I use a, W MUX or WMUX because I have Windows, and that is kind of like the CMUX for Windows was WMUX, which is pretty dope because you can like open up multiple windows and you can run multiple Hermes instances in those like terminal windows. But yeah, I'll cover that in another video. But yeah, with that said, that's what that looks like. I don't want to like continue to run this. It's gonna think for a second. But yeah, with that said, hopefully this call was useful. And again, I'll post this up in probably the course and the timeline area. I'll post it in the course so it doesn't get like lost, and other folks can also refer back to it. Um, and with that said, if there's anything you want me to cover, just let me know, and we can dive right into it. But yeah, with that said, yeah, pleasure to meet you, John. Thanks for showing up to the call, by the way. Much appreciated. We'll see you next week. And if there's anything I can help you with, just send me a message over there on school. Be happy to assist. And yeah, any questions, just let me know.
Can I ask you any questions right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Um,